Hello, this is Dr. Darnise, and welcome back into another installment on my writing and lifestyle channel. I know it's been a minute, and I've been on vacation, which is what I want to talk to you this time about. Who else likes to travel solo? Because that's my thing. I like to go on vacation by myself, so this is a video about, the high vibe lifestyle and what we do in the high vibe community. And one of the things that I propose, I encourage, is women stepping into their fullest expressions of themselves and not being afraid to do things, not being held back by other people's expectations for us. And so I know sometimes we travel in groups. A bunch of women will go somewhere together, but that could get problematic because some people, you'll be waiting on people. Right? Like you got to put money down on something. You got to plan. You'll be waiting on people. And then you mess around and kind of miss the early bird or miss out altogether. So one way to avoid that is to make your own plans and travel solo. And so, I want to talk about that. What's it like to travel solo, especially if you are a woman traveling alone? How do you do that? How do you even get up enough gumption to do that? And so I'm here to share with you that I just spent 2.5 weeks doing just that. I went to Savannah, Georgia. I went to Atlanta. I went to New Orleans, and then came on back to LA. So it wasn't a huge trip. I mean, within the states is not that much. It's not that difficult. I mean, you may say, you can't leave your state by yourself. But to me, it's not that difficult to travel to another state because it's the same currency, it's the same language, your cell phone works the way it does, and you can find your way. Now when you talk about going to other countries by yourself, that's a thing, right? That's a big deal, and I'll come back to that in a minute because I've done that also. But first of all, I have to say I really needed to get away, and that's something else that we have to acknowledge in terms of a high vibe lifestyle, is to honor your need for rest, which I'm notoriously bad at, I have to admit, because I work too much most of the time. But it is an expression of the high vibe lifestyle because it means I'm going to put myself ahead of other people's expectations, right? I cannot always be there attending to other people's needs when my own get compromised. So first of all, let me say that, I got to a point of being just burnt out and really depleted because of work, the kind of society we live in and the whole COVID thing that we just came through. So I was anxious to get out and get around the country. And yeah, it's a little bit more complicated because we have to think about, vaccinations and all this kind of stuff, right? We have to wear masks in the airport and all through a flight, all that kind of stuff. But that's doable and manageable. But what I wanted to share is that, because for some people, my clients in particular who will say that they have some fears and challenges, they say to me, well, how do you do that? How do you go out to dinner by yourself? How do you, not feel weird? Or people might be looking at you and judging you like, how does you don't have anybody to have dinner with? So I would say, well, here's a tip, start going to dinner by yourself in your own city. Start doing things by yourself in your own city. Go to a movie by yourself. Go to dinner by yourself. Feel what it is like to sit by yourself in a place and not be bothered, to be unbothered, right? Who cares? Because you're there to enjoy your best life. And, I recognize, though, that some people just don't have the constitution for it. And I get that. If you're a really shy person, you just might not be able to do it by yourself, at least not right now. But you can kind of work up to it, go with a friend, and then, do some things on your own. But for me, what I find is, I don't know if I just have, I should say, I do know that I have that kind of face where people just want to talk to me. Even when I don't want to talk to people, people will strike up a conversation with me. Oftentimes what I do in a restaurant is I'll sit at the bar. I'll eat, at the bar, which also makes it easier to get in, because some places are, they get crowded and they don't have a table available. But you can sit at the bar and have, your dinner there or your lunch there, and then just kind of casually strike up a conversation with somebody like, what are you drinking? What are you having? And then you just casually strike up a very, kind of superficial kind of conversation if you really want to be chatty. Otherwise, you could have a book. People on their phones all the time. And I will say, if you're trying to meet people, you cannot sit there on your phone. I know we use it as a crutch, but see, you'd have to grow beyond that and like look around and just talk to people. You can't be on your phone and like, well, I went out, but nobody said anything to me. That's because you're looking down. You're cutting. It's like a wall you've built around yourself. So anyway, I'm just, wanting to share. Here's some tips, right? You can start in your hometown, go to dinner by yourself, do things by yourself. Strike up conversation with strangers, just very casually, superficially. What else? When you get someplace, go on tours. You're in a new city, go on a tour. And then, you might meet some people. Sometimes I meet people. I met a good friend of mine, because we were going one year to the Essence Music Festival in New Orleans. And we sat next to each other on a plane. And she was there with a couple other friends. And so by the time we got off that plane, we were all, chummy enough for me to hook up with them and do stuff later on in the trip. So just be open. You really have to be open when you're traveling alone. Unless, of course, you really want like a solo retreat where you don't want to be bothered with anybody. And I had that kind of retreat when I went to Greece many years ago. What year was that? Maybe 1900 and maybe 1992, something like that, 91, 92. And I went to Greece by myself. And I intentionally wanted to be on my own. Like I chose a place where I couldn't speak the language and I was not going to be able to really interact with people. Because I needed a spiritual reboot. I needed a quiet time. I needed to be away from everything that was familiar to me. So I intentionally chose Greece. And I had a kind of a spiritual awakening there. And that's what I went for anyway. So that's a whole nother thing, though, when you talk about going, when you want to kind of disconnect from everything and just be by yourself. Because then it'll be very obvious. You're there to be by yourself. But if you're going someplace and you really like to explore a city and get to know places, go. On the high vibe lifestyle, we do not let fear hold us back. We do not shrink back because, oh, it's something I've never done before. You know what I did when I was in Savannah? I found a coffee shop that was like a neighborhood place, really nice place, and I got to know the staff there. So I would go there most days. So, and you just strike up conversation with the workers, right? And then I would find out about this going on and this going on because I'm talking to the people who really live there. So, find yourself a little corner, a coffee shop or a bar or whatever, place you like to go to, and become a regular while you're there. So I also suggest that. Also, you might go to places like take your own tour, map it out, kind of like what places you want to go to, and just rent a car and drive around on your own. And then it's amazing the things that you'll find. But again, you've got to be willing to step out and step forward and say, I'm open to exploration. I'm open to adventure. Now, again, I recognize it's not for everyone to walk around the streets by yourself. Like in New Orleans, when I went to New Orleans, right then I was walking around the French Quarter by myself. But during the day, I do not advise it at night by yourself. I just don't. But during the day, obviously it's very touristy and the streets are very full. And, even then I would strike up conversation with people and just kind of, you make your way. But again, it's because you're open to new experiences and growing and recognizing that, okay, I'm on the high vibe and I'm going to meet other people who have a high vibration too. Just know that. Just make that your intention, that you're going to be open and you're going to meet like-minded people. Some people, if you're very afraid that you think that somebody's always out to get you or something's going to go wrong, that's not the vibration you want to have when you're out here in the world at all. Because if that's where you're coming from, a very fear-based kind of space, you're going to meet that. And it's going to be, it's going to confirm what you fear, right? So you don't want that. You want to establish for yourself that, hey, I'm here to have fun and have an adventure, and I believe I'm going to meet good people along the way. So having said all that, I would share with you just a few things I picked. This is an unboxing part of the video. And if you follow me on my other channel, which I suggest you do, of course, DrDarnise's House of Religion, Magic, and Conjure, then I shared there some things that I bought in New Orleans, or maybe both cities. But, some things that I went to some magical, spiritual kind of shops. And this second batch, I just found this. It took me a while to unpack, y'all. So I came up with this little bag. I was like, oh, what's in this little bag? I forgot I had some other stuff. So here's a ritual soap, third eye open, so for your chakra, right? And then some sage. I don't know what kind of sage blend this is, but I know I wouldn't have bought it unless it was a blend. I think it's just rosemary in there, but I don't remember, y'all, honestly. And then Palo Santo, which I mostly recommend. Sage is a very much a, we're used to hearing about sage, and you cleanse with sage and everything, but it can be, sort of spiritually speaking, a lot. Consider it like bleach. Every time you clean, you don't necessarily want to use bleach because it can be very potent, and you might not want that kind of cleansing. Sometimes you do if you're moving into a new space. If you know for sure there's been some bad vibes somewhere, you might want to use the sage. But what I more recommend is the Palo Santo, and it's wood, right, from South America, and it's a sweet smell. It's like and it doesn't, sage will set off your fire alarms. It just is so smoky, right? And the Palo Santo is much more mellow. It'll just it's almost like an incense, the way it burns. So anyway, just sharing a couple of things that I got. A ritual bath, for a spiritual bath. Rest Easy. I just got the Rest Easy formula. You can see that. And it's a combination of lavender, chamomile, eucalyptus, and an essential oil blend. So, when I went into this place, this is CosmicCornerSavannah.com. If you're curious about this, CosmicCornerSavannah.com. So, when I go into these kind of places, of course, I'm going to talk to people and find out, what goes on in the city about, use the fact that you're by yourself as a springboard for conversation, because if you feel like you're pretty comfortable with somebody, you're talking to another woman who runs the store, for example, ask her what's happening in the neighborhood. Ask her what's going on. And if you tell her, yeah, I'm here by myself for a few days, people are generally, amenable. And they'll be like, oh, come to this, come to that. I had people inviting me to do things a lot. Things I didn't want to do because I was like, I don't know, y'all. I don't want to go to all these things. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up because this was a video to come on here and talk about stepping outside of our comfort zone via solo travel. Now, some of y'all in the comments, you can write where you've been. Some people do this all the time. I do this all the time myself. And let me know where you've been. Let me know where you want to go. Let me know what's been holding you back. If you're like, I would love to do that, but I'm just really nervous about what? Let me know. And yeah, stay tuned for more videos. I'll be back soon. That's all for now. Bye.